Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphan Last, aka Skylar Madison, and today I'm going to be making a brush pack. And I will be exporting this, and it will be appearing on my Patreon for you guys to download. But right now, I'm actually just working on the brush pack. Now, I already have a brush made, but I'm going to be making a fresh new one. And the goal of this is to where I can just tap my mouse or my stylus against the screen, and then I can quickly just decide, okay, well, what sort of orientation do I want with this specific rock? Do I want to resize it? Do I want to play around with its perspective? That sort of thing, so that I have a bunch of different choices. And then, okay, so let's say that's something that I want inside of my canvas. All right, well, time to create a new layer, and then pull out my my brush, tap again. Okay, well, let's take a look at this. How can I work this into the composition? Maybe I might want to play around with its perspective a little bit, and maybe its scaling and all that, just to try to come up with some sort of landscape that might look interesting. And right now I think it's actually starting to look pretty stinking awesome already as it is. All right, so let's go ahead and press OK there, and then I tap again. Okay, so that's a good one, but let's create that on a new layer and see if I can get that one again. Okay, so there we are. We have this one. Let's put it on the bottom of the stacking order, and I'm able to just grab this, and I'm able to kind of put it behind all my other stuff, and then I'm able to scale it up rather quickly for the background, right? And so now I can just confirm that transformation. Yeah, maybe I might want to press Control D. Maybe I might want to just kind of make a quick selection around this one. It doesn't need to be perfect. And then activate this one and delete, and then deactivate the background again, the one that's furthest in the background, and select as much of this one as quickly as possible. And at least this is the way I picture these brushes being used. And then I activate this background again, press delete. So now I have a stuff for the background, stuff in the foreground. The only thing is that I like these two right here. They need to be a darker value than, say, the stuff in the background. So at this point, I would go layer, new correction layer, and then I would do actually gradient map, and I would change the black to being more of a gray, so that it's a lighter value than what's in the foreground. And then let's see, which one is this one? Okay, that one. All right, so then I would right click on this, clip to layer below, so that it only applies to that specific layer. But the general idea is that, okay, once I have all this set up, I can just group all of this together into just one group. And then at the very tip top of the stacking order, I can go ahead and go layer, new correction layer, and gradient map, and then change the color to something like red, okay? Inside of this particular group, okay? So yeah, this correction layer is on the top of this stacking order. So now I can actually lower the opacity of this entire group and create a new layer. And now I could decide with a regular sort of brush pen sort of thing, I'm able to decide, okay, if I was drawing this background, which like what sort of details do I want to keep? And I'm able to decide that sort of thing. So I'm able to treat this photograph that I've created as a bit of a sketch, and there's tons of detail here that I'm able to draw upon and use as inspiration and such like that. And I might want to use like little bits of inspiration as to where I might want to cross-hatch, that sort of thing. And it's just a quick way to come up with a composition, basically. That's what these brushes are designed for. Now, the goal of this video is not necessarily to illustrate anything specifically. I just wanted to show how this brush pack is designed to work. Okay, it's just a little set of assets that you can just throw down real quick, and you can treat them as your sketch. I've designed them to work as a sketch. Like there's layers of detail inside of these that are really good. And so let me just go ahead and delete all of this stuff here, and let's go into my files. Now here you can see where I've already created some brushes here. And so basically, I've been taking all these photos as references for my job. But the thing is I don't necessarily need to use this. But the thing is that sometimes I just take a photo of my work, and that can even double as, you know, part of the brush pack, because it's got rock textures, it's got rock inspired sort of stuff. So even more so than just the photographs of a landscape, the faux rock that I've carved, it's inspired enough as a rock, but created by my hand. Basically, I created it. It's not a real rock. So in a way, even more so than anything, my faux rock images for this brush pack will be a true sketch, at least when I'm using it. And in a way, you guys would be working with a sketch that I made only in 3 dimensions with a faux rock. Okay, so right now I'm looking for interesting textures. I'm looking for interesting looking shapes inside of these. If I press Control and scroll up in my file browser, I'm able to make the scroll up on my mouse. I'm able to see a bigger, better looking thumbnail, one that's bigger, that's more accessible. And so now I'm just kind of scrolling through, looking for cool stuff. You know what? This one has good stuff going on with it. I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to 008 maybe. Okay, 008's already used, so rename 009. Okay, 009's not taken, so I'm going to drag this in here, and voila, we have this inside of here. But maybe I might not want all of this all as one specific part of the brush. Okay, maybe I might just want some of this. All right, so I need to decide what do I get to keep? What do I keep? And this is one of the faux rock that I created, that I sculpted. And I kind of want to keep all of the bottom, but there's just a specific part that I just don't feel like I want for this. Specifically, I mean, since the emphasis of this photograph was to take a picture of something that I sculpted, the artificial rock, I don't really want to include the actual landscape that is a real rock. So that's what I'm doing now. My selection, at least for me, the thing is since this is ultimately supposed to be something like a quick sketch reference sort of thing, something that you are permitted to trace to some degree, at least to some degree, my selections aren't necessarily going to be perfect, because that would kind of defeat the whole point of the tool. This brush is not designed to be the final composition at all, but yeah. So here I am just making the selection. Okay, so I've got all of that selected up there, so I'm just going to press Shift and hold and select half, and then do that once again. All right, so we have this whole section selected. I'm going to press Control Shift I and press Delete, Control D, and then I'm going to pull out my eraser, something with a soft edge, and I'm just going to go like so, just to feather the edge, because I don't know what sort of situations where you're going to be butting up these objects, and so having a feathered edge might make life a little bit easier for people down the road. And I'm gonna just kind of make sure that this feathered edge is nice and clean. All right, excellent. So the next step is to get rid of all of the color. So layer, new correction layer, and then hue, saturation, luminosity. I'm gonna dial the saturation all the way down, and then press OK and press Control E, and there you have it. You have a good step there. Okay, layer, new correction layer, and we are going to tone curve. Okay. And now if I dial, the left is the darkest dark. So when I move things down, you can see the entire image getting darker and darker, right? So let me just drag these little points to the corner to get rid of them, okay? And if I start moving this stuff, this curve up, you can see the image getting much lighter, right? So if I move this over here, okay, that's good. I can see a lot of detail. I want to preserve as many details as possible, but I need to make the image as close to black and white, pure black and pure white as much as possible. So I'm going to drag down here to create another one. Okay, now there's going to be details lost, but basically I want to butt this up so that there's like all that, so that this is just perfectly straight. Okay, there's no space between this one and this one. They're just butted up against each other. But you can see that a lot of detail was lost. This is what I call the embossing technique. You're not trying to preserve it as a photograph, you're trying to preserve it as a reference for your inks. So I'm going to create another little node thing right here, and then I'm going to drag the darkest darks up, and you can actually see that it's created this weird embossing, which allows you to see details that you normally wouldn't be able to see if this was a black and white image. The blackest blacks are now some of the brightest things in the actual image, and the embossing this technique that I've kind of come up with, it works really well. But the whole image is still way too stinking dark, so I'm going to move the darkness over a little bit, and then move the brightness over a little bit as well. Okay, so that was a little too much, so let's just keep on fiddling with it until we have some sort of happy middle ground, and maybe I might want to create another one and butt it up next to there. Okay, cool. So this winds up, this embossing technique kind of creates different things that you wind up seeing inside of something like a comic book made by Frank Miller, like the way he does his inks. You know, sometimes he'll have white cracks in a pure black background, and this is how to create that effect in a black and white photograph. Instead of going for just an S curve, you go for kind of an S as well as a U shape. Like overall, when you look at the whole thing, you see a U shape, but there is a little bit of an S curve going on right here at the tail end. Okay, so that's kind of how I am going about creating this particular set of tools here. So I'm going to press OK. Now, if I made this into a brush at this point, all of this gray and all of the white inside of the image would be included in on the brush. So I want to go Edit, and then I want to go to... Oh, right. I skipped a step. This right here, this correction layer, I want to press Control E to merge it. Then Edit, and then Convert Brightness to Opacity, and that gets rid of all the white. You can see right through it. So if I were to create a new layer and put it underneath here, and then let's say start drawing on the canvas with red ink, you could see right through it. Like the brush is going to be transparent. So let's go ahead and get rid of this layer that I just created here. We have this right here. Okay, so now I just want to go Edit, Register Material Image. Okay, and then I want to go Use for Brush Tip Shape, All Materials, Image Material, Brush. Okay, and 009 is fine for me. It makes it easier for me, at least, to find it. So I'm going to press OK. All right, now in order to make a brush, like I said, I already had a brush. So you take one of your existing brushes that operates kind of sort of like how you want your current brush to work. Okay, so in this case, the sponge brush is kind of nice, and it kind of works a little bit like how I want my brush to work. Okay, so I'll press Control Z a bunch of times so I can right click on it and go Duplicate Subtool, and then I'm just going to call this Test, okay, just for the video. And so we have this test brush, and let me go into this little sandbox file that I've gone ahead and created, and the test. Okay, so we have the test. You can see that it says test here. This is the brush that I just created, but currently it's drawing with that sponge texture because I just duplicated a sponge brush. Okay, so now I just go ahead and click on this gear, and then I go to brush shape. Just right underneath brush shape you have brush tip. I'm going to grab all of these pictures here, just click here and then click here to delete, and I'm just going to delete all of these sponge textures because they don't, like, they're not what I want. All right, and so awesome. All right, so now there's no brush associated, no texture, nothing associated to this specific brush. So I'm gonna click on this add brush tip shape right here, and it was, what was it? 009. Okay, so I can go 009, and now I have that brush on my test brush. Okay, and so when I tap on here, you can see I'm tapping on the canvas and I'm getting the exact same sort of landscape going on. Now there's some behaviors that are happening weird where if I like, some of them are sized differently, and we can play around with that just by, you know, going through the menus and playing around with these. But really the main star of the show is adding new materials. So like add another brush tape. Now I can go ahead and grab this one here that I've already made, and you can see that it will cycle through the different pictures that I've gone ahead and mastered up. Okay, so I can go ahead and press plus and then add yet another one, and so now we have it cycling through like 3 or 4 of these. Let's do another one. Let's go that. Okay, and so you just basically repeat this process over and over again in order to get this to work. Now I don't need this specific brush here, so I'm just going to right click on it and delete the test brush, and so I need to go to my Orphan Last Mountains brush, click on the gear once again, and it was 009, I believe, is what I saved it as. And so now this this brush that I've been working on has the ability to just, like, within a few clicks, I'm able to get a whole bunch of different kinds of rock shapes, and sometimes it's a full-on landscape, and you get to decide just how much of it you get to keep. Now, once again, just look at all of the options here on the side panel and just play around with it and see what sort of options are available to you, because nothing, like, I can try to describe what I'm observing is happening on the canvas versus what you are observing that it does for the canvas. Ultimately, the best teacher is experience, and just keep playing around with these, and your brush will work exactly the way that you want. Okay, so have at it. So I'm going to save this right here. Yes, save it. All right, awesome. So now I can go and look for other things that I find interesting that I have worked on in the past maybe, and go from there. This one's interesting. Okay, so this one's going to be called 010. So I have this right here. Ooh, there is a problem. Some of this is obstructing the view, but you know, that's fine. I'm just going to select whatever it is that I feel like is worth keeping, that still creates an interesting looking shape, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to select only the parts that I find essential. Alright, so like I said, my goal isn't necessarily to make the most amazing selection in the world. It's just to use it as a reference. Okay, so I went ahead and deleted the background. This is destructive editing. You know, if you have a problem with that, then really there's no way to really make a brush other than to do some destructive editing. So let's see, I need to desaturate, and then I need to press Ctrl E, and then go to another correction layer, tone curve, and I'm going to do another emboss and then drag it down to the bottom. So right now it just looks like a big black blob, but I can go ahead and go like that. Let's see what happens when I create another one kind of like that. I'm not really liking that at all, so I'm going to merge it as quick as possible there. Yeah, that's better. I don't know, I don't really feel like I'm seeing white on the canvas, so let's that's looking a little bit too much, so let's ramp up more dark. Alright, let's move this over. I don't know, let's see. It's all about playing around. Oh, that looks interesting. See, it's all about playing around with details. What do you keep? What do you get rid of? Like this right here, this is the darkest area on the canvas, but in comic books with inks, you see people demonstrating in the darkest area of the canvas an even darker area that's made with white, basically either with white ink or by erasing. So this emboss technique, this U-shaped curve, kind of creates that. So now I'm going to press Ctrl E, and then I am going to go edit, register material, image, use for brush tip, all materials, and let's see, image materials, brush. Alright, so now we have that. I can now go to my brush, find my Orphan Last Mountains, click on the gear, go to brush tip, and this is 010. So let's see. I need to look for 10. Okay, 010. And so I double click on that. Cool. And then I go back to my sandbox. And okay, so that's one of them. That's another. That's another. Okay, I'm just making sure that it goes through the full cycle just fine. I'm looking for, yeah, that one. That's the one that I was looking for. But there is a problem. The white was preserved. I don't like that. So I need to go over here. And basically, I just click on one of these folders here, and I have, instead of all materials images, I'm able to find this. So I click on it, and then I delete it, okay? And that automatically deletes it out of the brush, okay? And then I click on this little folder again and to get rid of it. I forgot a step, so I need to go to edit, and then brightness to opacity. There we go. Now the magic is happening. So now I can go ahead and edit, register as material image, use for brush tip, all materials, image materials, brush. Press OK, press plus here, and find it right there. All right, so let's go back to our sandbox and let's find it. You know, I don't think I got rid of the white on this version either. That's a frustrating bit too. So I need to find that image. Where is it? Yeah, let's drag 003 back into here and see what's going on. So let's edit brightness to opacity. So I'm going to delete 003 right now. Get rid of it on my brushes. Or at least on my brush. So I'm going to register this as a material as well. So I'm finding mistakes that I'm making along the way and fixing them. And okay, so 003 needs to go into here. All right, so let's try our sandbox again. So that looks good. Good. Okay, that's right. Okay, everything's looking good. Okay, so now I need to move on to the next image and make sure that I save everything as it should be. Time to find the next image. And ultimately, I'm just trying to find a thumbnail for one of these images that's like, oh yeah, that would totally make a tool, an asset. Like, I'm looking for shapes that could be used as the right kind of asset, basically. I think I found one, so this one's going to be 011, okay, and then I drag 011 into the canvas, okay, and there's some interesting shapes here. I have my coworker right there. This is another thing that we created, but it has some cool stuff going with it. So I am going to close out of my brush, and I am just going to start making selections. All right, excellent. So I'm going to press Control-Shift-I, delete everything that's not necessary, pull out my eraser, and just clean some stuff up a little bit. If it's not part of the selection, then it's because it was unimportant, and maybe it included a little bit of pool equipment and stuff like that. So the only thing that's included in this particular version, like this part of the brush set, is the things that can keep immersion in the illustration that you're working on. So now I get to go into my sandbox. Well, no, and so now I need to desaturate, press Control-E, go to a new correction layer, tone curve, create a U curve, and this can take a little bit of fiddling to get just right. Okay, so that looks pretty interesting. So edit, oh wait, I need to press Control-E, edit, convert brightness to opacity, and then edit, register material as image, use for brush tip, image material, brush. Okay, and then I go to my orphan last brush, click on the gear, brush tip, and this is 011. Okay, excellent. Go back to my sandbox. Okay, there it is. I think that looks pretty stinking cool as just a tool to be used. I think it came out looking good. And the thing is like, you could just use just a portion of this as a composition. You could decide, okay, this is it right here. This is the full size of the canvas within, say, this region right here. That's the full canvas right there. Or you could just use it the way that I was using it earlier. Maybe there's people walking around here. And it kind of has a bit of a Star Wars feel to it. I mean, why not? Or maybe they're over here. There's a lot of cool stuff going on with this brush that I like. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this and save it. and then find the next one. I like this one right here, so I'm going to right click on it, 0, 1, 2, and then I'm going to throw it into Clip Studio Paint. Make my selections, which I think will be above this jacuzzi line. Now, scale is relative. Even though these aren't like true mountains, they're kind of like these are, of course, faux rock, the artificial rock that I've created. Most of these, they're either references that I used to create faux rock, or they are faux rock themselves. Scale is relative on a canvas. If you were to place a little stick figure man standing on this to make it look like a mountain, then that would be so. Okay, even though this is just a little bit of rock work that goes around a jacuzzi, no one needs to know that if you change the scale inside of your composition. Okay, so that looks good. Control-Shift-I, delete, and then just kind of feather the edges just a touch so that we have something here that's pretty usable. We need to desaturate. We need to add a tone curve. Okay, so there's too much white in it now, but that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to press OK, Control E twice with both of these correction layers. Edit brightness to opacity. Edit register material image. Use for brush tip. Yep. All right, excellent. Let's go to our sandbox. Open up our Orphan Last Mountains settings down here. Brush tip. Add, and that was 0, 1, 2. Okay. Oh, that was it. That's it right there. And it's great. Looks excellent. So now I can close out of this one. This one just has so many interesting shapes to it, textures and stuff like that, that I want to keep it as much as possible. So I'm just going to select what I don't want at this point and delete. I think this is 0, 1, 3. Okay, so that looks okay. That one looked pretty good. Okay, so there you have it. You have 16 different types of mountains and rock texture sort of things that you got. Now, you can do all sorts of things with this. Like, you can go ahead and rotate it and just kind of look around. Okay, can I see a composition? Maybe, maybe there's people who are standing right about right here-ish, and maybe they're talking to some people down here. Maybe there's like a little, cabin in the woods out here. Like, you can kind of picture little bits and pieces of storytelling going on. Why does this guy live here? Maybe there's a body of water close by here, and so you could kind of change up the composition. You can, even though a lot of this stuff is small scale, it's up to you to change the scale of objects. Okay, so the final step that you're going to be undertaking throughout this entire thing while making a brush is basically this. You've seen me in my little sandbox here, and you see Orphan Last Mountains. That's the name of the brush. And as you can see, just with a few clicks, I'm able to come up with a bunch of different types of landscapes and stuff. This is just like quick references just on the fly, without having to go to Google Images and wondering, do I even have permission to do something like that? How much can I copy it? That sort of thing. You can copy it 100% if you want. I don't care. It's supposed to be a tool, is what it is. It is suggested that you actually have some sort of understanding of the basics, why this looks three-dimensional and stuff like that, how to draw in perspective. It's not required, but it is expected that you have every intention to learn those sorts of things. Okay, so this is how you export it. So you right click on that and you go export subtool. Okay, and I picked someplace basic. As you can see, this PC desktop, I put it right there at SUT. So if I name this Mountains 1 and saved it, when I go to my desktop, you can see I have Orphan Last Mountains SUT, Orphan Last Mountains 1 SUT. Okay, so that's how you export it. Now, how do you import it? That's a question that you might have. Okay, so I've gone ahead and renamed this Orphan Last Mountains 11 just to make it different. So if I click and drag on it, and then I hover over the Clip Studio Paint icon, and then drag, like I have my mouse button held the whole time, and I drag all the way over to the brush panel, basically, and let go, it's going to start doing this little loading thing with the cursor, and it might take a little moment, especially for this brush because it's got some high resolution images in it. And now you can see we have Orphan Last Mountains and Orphan Last Mountains 2. They are the exact same brush as the other, as you can see, same brush as the other. And the thing is though, I'm not quite ready to have this be some sort of digital download. I've been playing around with Patreon recently, and I created a post where people could just download it, and if I go to edit this post, okay, it says that it's public, it's for free, but the problem is that when I've gotten someone from my Discord server to try to download it that's not a patron, they say that they're not able to download it. So I'm thinking about starting up a Gumroad and promoting that. Every time that I also, like, here, let me take a look here, edit page, and then getting paid. You go there. I changed it from monthly to per creation. But the thing is since I had that as being public, I figured it would be for free. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Per creation is also like an unpredictable time period to expect patrons to be paying you out. Like, what if they're struggling and then you decide to pop out like 10 different creations and now they're stuck with paying out a whole bunch of money because you've been creating a bunch of things that month. I don't want that. I don't want any of this. And there's no like one-time fee or purchase sort of system that I can see. As you can see, I've gotten rid of all of my tiers. I'm going to have my Patreon on the back burner from here on out until I can actually figure out what I'm doing with it. And I'm going to more so start exploring Gumroad. So in the near future, you can expect to download this brush on my Gumroad when it actually exists. So that pretty much concludes the video. I hope that it was helpful to you. Anyways, guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys would like to get more notifications from me, feel free to join my Discord. A link to my Discord is in the video description below. If you'd like to support this channel, there's an image of a t-shirt in the upper right corner of the screen right now. It leads to my Teespring. Any support would be much appreciated. And if you've enjoyed this content and would like to see more, feel free to click on anything else that's appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.